Tuesday the 14th of January 2020 has finally arrived, and of course that means end of support for Windows 7. Let's look at some options. Of course, back in 2015-2016 there was the free upgrade, and that's effectively gone now. I'll link to this article below that explains how you can still get it for free. I'm not sure about the legalities, practicalities or any of that, so you can check that one out on your own. I have heard of ESU or Extended Service Units for Windows 7 Pro. As far as I know, it's only the Pro version. I think the cost is around $20 or $25 per device for the first year, and then I think it goes up, so that can probably get expensive as well. There is also this site here called Kingwin, and they sell license keys, that sort of thing, so you can investigate that. I have heard of people purchasing Windows licenses successfully and whatever through here, so you can do a little bit more research there. Once again, I don't know about the legalities, practicalities and all that sort of thing there as well, so yeah, you can check that out. But yeah, you can possibly pick up a Windows license for around $30. Or alternatively, if you want to go to Windows 10, you can just pay the $140 for Windows 10 Home or $200 for Windows 10 Pro. Or you can lash right out and buy a new PC, whichever way you want to go there. If you purchase Windows 10, be it Home or Pro, as far as I can tell, you're going to have to do a fresh install. And with that in mind, that leads me down to what I want to begin here, is the Linux option, of course. You're currently looking at Linux Mint Cinnamon. This is a live version or a live desktop. That means it's running from a USB drive, and it's not currently installed on the computer, so if I shut this down I can reboot my computer and it's as it was a few moments ago. We're going to start the installer and just let that run in the background while we discuss a few other points. In 2013-2014, Windows XP did the same thing. It became end of life. I was using XP at the time. I went looking for my options and discovered Linux, in particular Linux Mint. I ended up dual booting, so I installed it alongside Windows XP, and I split my time a little bit between both systems for a little while. After a month or two, I figured out how to install and get the software that I needed, got myself sorted out, and then I just wiped Windows out off the machine. As I'm talking about Linux here, there are a couple of things I want to mention. Most likely you probably already know about these things if they apply to you, but I'll mention them anyway. One is, if you're a serious gamer, a full-on serious gamer, Linux may not be for you. The other is, if you're doing some sort of serious video editing, for example, the same may apply. Or if you're in some other special situation, you're using special software, special needs, work, school, that sort of thing. Again, most likely you already know whether you can use Linux or not. And another one that may apply is if you've got some specialised hardware, maybe a special RAID array in your computer, multiple drives, partitions, etc. Once again, if you're in that situation there, you probably know more than what I do already. If your use case is something along the lines of just using the internet, checking your email, browsing the web, YouTube, editing a few documents, maybe watching a movie on your computer, that sort of thing there, just for personal use at home, I think Linux will probably fit you like a glove. I think that's almost a perfect fit there. The change should be relatively hassle-free, as it was for myself. As I mentioned earlier, there was only a couple of things. There was sort of a couple of specialised software programs that I was using at the time, and that just held me back a little bit. But other than that, for day-to-day use, as soon as I installed Linux, I just used Linux 24/7 unless I needed to go back to that other thing until I sorted it out. So I think Linux is perfect for the what I call sort of average home user. The system's restarted in the background. It's now installed, and we notice the absence of the Install Linux Mint icon on the desktop. So let's go and have a look at a Linux system, and as you'll see, it pretty much looks and behaves very similar to a Windows system. We get the welcome screen. Updating Linux is easy. You click on this little icon near the clock. You can see it's got a blue circle with the exclamation mark in it there. And the Update Manager runs. We click OK. We have to do it the first time we run it. We have to do a little bit of stuff, so we'll update the mirrors. And that's just simply where the software is coming from, so that you get a nice good download speed. We click on these long strips here, effectively long buttons. It'll go through a little process of testing servers and find the fastest one. You click on that, you hit the apply button. We do it again for the other one. Same thing, it'll ping all the different servers. See, it's already found the fastest ones, and I just happen to know, I recommend you let this run through, but I happen to know that'll be about one of the fastest ones that I'm going to get in my location. Then we click OK. It updates its cache. That'll take a minute. That's called the software sources. As you can see, we can close out of that. We're back to the Update Manager. Just let it refresh. And we apply the update. This is what I'm talking about with security. You'll need to put your password in to make system-wide changes or install software, that sort of thing. We'll probably get a whole heap of updates here because this is a fresh install. Probably be a couple of hundred extra megabytes or so, I'd guess. Yeah, there we go. I think 200 and something megabytes there, nearly 300. We click install the update. Want some additional stuff as well, so we click OK for that. We put in the password. As I say, you'll only have to do this pretty much once when you first set up the machine, and then just periodically every few days, once a week, whatever it might be, for new updates. I'm just going to change the clock and get it to display the date while that's happening in the background. And of course, if it's not convenient for you to update at the moment for whatever reason, you can just cancel out of it, and the choice is all yours when you update and what you update. This little triangle is for system reports, and similar with updating, this is pretty much the first time you use the machine. You'll get to go through this process. This is fairly new to this edition of Linux Mint, is putting in the administrator password, which is currently not set. And I normally don't use the terminal. If you look through any of my videos, you'll see I very, very seldom use the terminal. This is about the one and only time you're probably going to use it. And as you can see, you just type what's written there, sudo passwd root. Press enter, put in your password that you put in when you installed the system. Then you enter the new password for the administrator, and you can use the same password. In fact, it's probably recommended that you do. Press enter, confirm that password, press enter again, and then you can close the terminal and probably kiss it goodbye. For most people, you don't really need to use the terminal unless you decide you want to have a crack at that sort of stuff. But for an average daily home user, there's pretty much no need. I've sped the video up while it's finishing the updates, and that took about 4 or 5 minutes. As we can see, Linux is very customizable, and of course this is straight out of the box, as they say. You get all these options for different icons and colour schemes, that sort of thing. If you don't find anything there to your liking, you can always go searching online for extra icons or different icons, different themes, that sort of thing. But there's quite a few choices to be made straight out of the box. If you want to install any extra applications, we've got the Software Manager. The Software Manager is pretty much like the App Center on your phone. We've got some editors picks up the top. We've got categories down the bottom here. So, for example, sound and video. And we can just, there's VLC if we want to install that, or Audacity for doing sound, audio files, that type of thing. We can go back if we know what we want. If we know we want Kdenlive to edit some videos, we can just type it in, and there it is. We click on it and we hit the install button, and in a couple of minutes we've got Kdenlive installed. I'm not going to do that now though. If you don't know what you're after, if you know it's something to do with video, you can just type video in there and a little bit of a search, and then you can scroll through the results. And of course you can always just do a search online, what what package does what for Linux. If you know what you want to do, you can just ask the question. These are all videos on my YouTube channel. We've got one here, Linux Mint desktops, which one to use. That'll give you a bit of an idea of the differences between Linux Mint Cinnamon, Mate and XFCE. So check that one there out if you're not sure which desktop environment you want to use or which version of Linux. This one here shows you how to dual boot Linux Mint with Windows 10. Unfortunately, I don't have a Windows 7 system, so I've had to use Windows 10, but it's pretty much the same thing. This one over here shows you some more advanced techniques. If you've got special needs, want to do some different partitioning, or have a petition to share files between your Linux and Windows systems, that'll work you through there. There's this one here. It shows some more dual boot options between Windows and Linux, and that's fairly beginner friendly. Check that one out. And if we scroll down a little bit here, I've got a couple to do with VirtualBox, so you can run them in a virtual machine on your current computer. I'm actually demonstrating here on a Linux system, but if you're still on Windows, you can still go to the VirtualBox website, download VirtualBox, virtualbox.exe, and double click the file and install it as you normally do. And then this video here and this one up here, VirtualBox settings, tips and tricks, those two there, they'll walk you through the steps of setting up virtual machines and running them on your system, so you can explore even more Linux distros that way.